Very glad to be here, and I'm going to be reading from the Kerosene Singing, and then at the end, just briefly from the Surveyor's Riddles. And I would like to begin with a poem called The Expectation. I see us hiking through a veering gorge, the scrub stuck to the sides, above us goats, their meat and bleat events at this convention of herd and human. Coastal ridges loom behind us, way beyond what we can walk, although we'll ride where other riders rode. As is our habit, we'll get ourselves lost, hunting a track that thins back into scrub, and face a king whose lands we'll have to pass, growling and grinning, standing his ground, the bastard, whose existence feeds on force. We'll have to retreat from his speaking power. And through the thorny undergrowth we'll forge a route, although those nibs will jot their notes on our skin, nature's thought up harsh inventions. We're going to meet them, and perhaps our doom. Meanwhile, we hope to spot the local hawk, catch the nightingale tune of the toad. We won't, I hope, have much to say to frost. Summer is the time to rucksack up, be on your way, remove your office arse from its roundabout chair, and planet bound, put off en masse accumulated chores to stop and spot the unrecorded flowers. Turn off the lights, and did you pack the torch? An anchored platform or a barrel as it floats out on the Black Sea's surface tension might hum new notes or a familiar tune. Surely there's got to be at least a stalk, its helipad visible from the road. There might be monuments for us to accost, for us to say how much we love them, rub and stroke their sides, although they never asked our paws to land and leap about them. Our sound will never reach their stony ears, of course. Their silence, though, gets through to ours. Gold teeth will flash across a woman's porch as we float in like harvest-seeking boots. There'll be no need to ask about her pension. Her face will speak the dialect of spare rooms. Once the price has stopped its bobbing, she'll talk about the rent for her resort abode. Beds and tents, train seats where we're booked to doss. Our shapes leave your shapes as we rev up and move, and what seems slow will seem as fast as grass rising across a burial mound. We'll hear and not hear the impending hordes, the forecasters for thunderstorms and showers. Introduction to a Congress. Now the lights on the walls are down. Will you give me your minute or three? I trust your skirts and trousers have introduced themselves to the plush seats. As you can see, I can't see you, and I'm blinking down at my script. But before we hoist up our speakers, if you need to abandon this ship, to banish your ballast and waste, for smokes and smirks or for plans, our staff will light up your way like the path of spotlit Lancaster. Delete all words, wrote a Chinese sage, and then you will have the true poster. There is no such thing as a statement. Am I asking too many questions? Correct, or quotes from our speakers, who've logoed banks or drawn their font from inmates' scrawl. One's intrigued by the trickle of bags of Hong Kong. Can horses gallop on tomatoes? Bien sûr, barked Breton's dog. Cuban film will receive some remarks. Meet an elephant crossed with a coffee pot. The Botanical Garden, the Museum of Natural History are their clients. The Literature House, the Public Theatre. Please welcome this morning's designers. There's going to be a kind of a Franco-Russian thread running through some of the things I'm reading here. Beginning with this. Riding Home with Michel Foucault. At the corner of the evening screen, The second's decimal discourse inverts the countdown of the genes. The acrobatic pixels pause, then scatter and land as a flock above the platform's bustle, where the bright and broken dots sun the orange shuttle. I run for the doors to take my temporary seat and read the origin of laws. The books beside me speak. Where are you now on the market? Are you sure you're on the right diet? This state is my life. It asks me to ride and read by night, and under the sun in the ceiling, in the accepted world, silence my slang as I steer back to our flat from work. Head for the hold coin of the lock, and from my wallet extract the access card to the office. This morning, across and apart, two eyes were tracking the lectures with an avian shade of concentration. We were picking the same conjectures in our pair of varying translations, while the driver watched from the cabin, polo-necked, accelerating past in the passages, looking happy with his bald head and quick-witted glasses. Le Monde Diplomatique, which you might know as a newspaper. I think it's also available in English. Very good. It comes out like the moon, in its matte white skin, imprinted with tattoos, emerging from the pile of local and daily clouds rambling the sky. The frozen ground is melting away. The wars of Africa warm up the graphics. Europeans dream revolt in the lands of shade. Outside, the flies are making short-haul flights from Stamen to Stamen on a great wall of ivy. Going out into the big wide world, audience participation time. Anybody know where Khakassia is? Neither do I really. It's southern Siberia, part of the Russian Federation, not far from Central Asia. I've never been there, but I did go to an exhibition in Berlin a couple of years ago of basically death masks from this area. So this is called Circassian masks. You'll hear it's about 18 short four-liners. The Tang soldiers pant up the grass and arrest the first nomad they can find. They mishear Kyrgyz and decide they've found the land of Khakas. You fling out the final expressions you held as you posed in the graves, till the sunlight started to rain on your faces again from the west. Across the full moon's paleness, hung against a black background, the blue and yellow, red and brown powder paints rivers and brooks, lakes and plains. Your eyelids arc like arrows, each iris an immobile clock, each face a lake where a strong wind blows, a grin, grimace, grumpiness, shock. Stately, serene and smooth, half your head is history. Your mate with the Maori swirls, his mouth tight clenched as the cheeks of a weightlifter. Eyes downturned, ears apart, you assist your portrait artist. A thick red spiral perfects your brow. Death has become you. You can go now. You mouth your sounds in a pond, a side hall in the house of culture. The Khans waded in with their script, and the captions bubble in Russian. Your 200 oral epics trot off. Look after the old, look after the poor. Dress well, be sure to own a good horse. But your tunes have turned into ethno-rock. Your careers as potter or shaman all end in plaster noses. The two containers the earth discloses, the impermeable clay in the cranium. Blue and black, the eye pigment codes, It's never advisable to own an abode where empires finalise their borders and genetics meets torch and sword. Dream and the narratives arrive. There in the smoke, the souls rise. The overtone moves in the grass. The hooter haunts the smelting plant. Your faces hold the Republic's coins, the molybdenum, grey and bright, that fed the oceans with nitrogen, great for evolution and alloys. Opaque, brittle barite as well, to weight the fluid that finds the oil. Asbestos, tablecloth of Charlemagne, to hold back the invading flames. Beneath the grass we found your assets and tungsten, the heavy stone, the glittering grey to shroud the cones of our long-range waiting warheads. The brown eagle's neck twitches, atop its moss-quiet megalith. Above the long grass in a midday gale, no higher resolution is available. The megaliths bend with the wheat ears, beneath the geostationary rain clouds. The rape plants raise their yellow flowers to the wisps across online Siberia. In the evening valley's red spaces, the megaliths display like crystals. We can see our ancestors' chisels in the pixels of the public domain. Squinting a little from the saddle, the red tunic, no disguise, leant on a table, trying on a smart hat, these riders under the same skies. My hobby is translating Ossip Mandelstam, and I'm going to read a poem here of his in my translation, Notre Dame, which, as you know, obviously the cathedral in Paris, which, as you also might know, was built on the site of Roman law courts. Notre Dame. So that flipping thing off. Where Roman justice judged another... You've lost. Where Roman justice judged another nation, a basilica now stands, joyful and first, as Adam once was, to strain its nerves with the muscles of its light crossbow play. But a secret scheme is revealed outside. The strength of the saddling arches ensures that the load of this bulk doesn't crush the walls when the war ram of the bold vault stays idle. Forest that passeth understanding, maker's maze, the Gothic mind did its thinking in this abyss. Egyptian strength, the meekness of Christians, reed beside oak, here plumb lines of the Tsars. But what might I one day create? Stronghold Notre Dame, I would often think, as I studied and studied those monstrous ribs, a kind of beauty from hostile weight. So if you know your Mandelstam, you'll know that he had several kind of architecturally based poems, often about cathedrals, which kind of inspired me to have a go at that kind of thing myself. Here's my effort, which is called the Milan Duomo. Like puffins nesting on their shit-white cliffs, gargoyles peer out from under the spire tops, where perching angels play dummies in shops. Prophets and saints ascend on outside lifts. The crossvault spreads across a colonnade of redwoods. Yes, the vestments of Christ's bride. The passion hoardings brand the faith. This side of the schism, they like the visual aid. 5 centuries of surplus value transform into 1,000 stories in stained glass. Below, a tide of pews that waits for class. The nave expresses the behavioural norm. You're reminded that this is a place of prayer, by voices above, speaking in tongues, shapes of martyrdom, conduct us to the apes, far destination. Thank God for this chair. The marble sermon sounds, and I could use a career path from cardinal to saint, when my skin's mummified, blotched with dark paint, and prone, be sure I'm wearing my best shoes. from a real place to a somewhat imaginary place, even though it has real effects, the financial ocean. You tack out on the grey-suited waves, the renewable billows and the hoisted sail of your market-going catamaran that rises and crashes while Swindon Marina recedes, pinned on the new Riviera between the hill-hugging call centres of Bristol and the sombre wharves of the capital. First to faint as the crisis seeped in, your colleagues have left their strip-lit offices and outlook meetings to wave your keels off. Even the CEO has tasked her assistant, who starts to click mails, as the white horizon begins to delete your sail and you turn off down the motorways of the Wales. You lean to tack your operational platform to one side, on course for the tropics and exotics, stocked to the ceiling with bonds and policies, the pension plan in the locker, a larder of complex products to swap with peoples whose coasts you'll swing your feet onto. You've nodded and named on business lunch before rollout. Before you, blue sky and the sponsored biplanes, test jets that raced ahead of the boom, futures cross oceans in the stratosphere. You'll remain in communion with the relay stations as you groove the waters of the fish nations. Movements in the market slew your navigation. 5 days out, clouds curl and blacken, the wind thickens. 10 and you glimpse death-souled derivative, the albatross. You put in it some rocks, the sat-nav mist, and meet a culture counting shells round a necklace of islands, facing storms without disaster securities. On this voyage to the Indies, the share winds hurry your course, but as your keels round the Cape of Crisis, an obscenity filter forgets your text to head office. Inside the ring road, your colleagues have short-sold your chances at their screens and filed the new stakes with the sea regulators, but CC you in by mistake, a message you read into your investments week. And I shall round off here now by reading 5 or 6 poems in this collaborative sequence with Giles Goodland, with some fairly tenuous attempts to link them into very contemporary current events. So some of what I'm reading is by Giles, some of it's by me. The thing I'm going to begin with is by a translator who cannot be traced, and I will apologise in advance for what is probably some very mispronounced Korean. Jong-il Peak rises on Mount Paektu. The blue waters of the Sobayak meander. Here, 50 years ago, the shining star was born, a master with pen and sword, loyal and dutiful. He commands respect and praise from all, and cheers for him rock heaven and earth. When we step into the secret camp on Mount Paektu, where the sound of running of Sobayak is heard, the general unfolds in my fatherland of military first, that family's family tradition that most intensely blossomed, while numerously crossing the blood-stained death line amidst the severe storm of the revolution, feeling good about and content with the image of offspring standing at the guard post where their parents used to stand. Gun barrel homes that unnumberably soared in my country, like the stars and groups of stars fill up and shine in the sky. We cherished the family tradition of the gun barrel family, who did not at any moment shed their military uniform. Took first parade. Comrade Pollitt would have been proud, said Giddins. We waved out across red gardens at the Liverpool long-range rockets. I thought of the camp in the Ronda, where the great leader struggled the invaders, and the infant dear leader ran round. My collar itched, but stiff I stayed. Rain clouds Manchestered the capital. One day, even stronger and bolder, we will obliterate the imperialist order outscarred the 52nd parallel. Arsenal were playing Man U. Arsenal had always been playing Man U. The cameras plying Victory Stadium for hools. Deployed at Finsbury Park, the sport police were watching the pubs where shirts were sipping sweat, the tubes squeezed out their red and white scarves. A mass choir for the home team, with season tickets for the hate sessions, the skills and mid-air collisions, goalless draws in injury time. Two more, then done. Goldilocks Thatcher breaks and enters, establishes hegemony in the Bear family, never historicises. On Margate Sands, she connects work with self. Daddy Bear is Heath, Mummy Bear the Queen, both scroungers. Layabouts, she sets them to work. The bear she does not fuck is Heseltine. A tactical error she will realise soon, but now the bears are buying their honey mine, now selling it. The stool of state is just a tool from which she is pushed. The door is levered open by Major Bear, then Blair Bear, then Brown Bear. Cameron is intensive care bear. They all want porridge. When she dies in our cubicles, we all, for several seconds, stop working. And Ted lived 57 years and conceded to Harold. And the days of Ted after he conceded to Harold were 31 years, and he begat no sons or daughters. And Harold lived 60 years and resigned on the grounds of ill health. And the days of Harold after Jim won the ballot were 19 years, and Jim lost to Margaret, who begat John, etc. And the Weird brothers leant back on the leather. Hail Keith, Thane of Leeds North East, Thane of Portsoken, greater than Margaret, though lesser. Thou shalt get prime ministers, though thou be none. Thank you very much for your attention.